Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas once again.
Merry Christmas again, everybody.
Welcome to the second Christmas episode of Pass Pirate Pay. My name is Ken. I'll be your host alongside my co-host, Andy. Andy, how are you doing?
Ho, ho, holy shit, Ken. Another Christmas episode.
That's right. We are deep into it now.
We're in the spirit.
That's right.
Of the season.
Feeling very Christmassy, Yuletide gay as we are. Yeah. So today we're going to be discussing 3 Christmas movies. We're going to be talking about 2005's Joyeux Noel. We're going to be talking about 2010's Rare Exports.
Yes.
And 2024's Dear Santa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3, I would say, very different Christmas movies.
Yeah. It runs the gambit.
Yeah, we're totally running the gamut on these. We're going all through the different kinds of Christmas movies. I say let's just jump right into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start.
What's our first one?
Let's go with chronological order.
Okay.
With Joyeux Noel, 2005, directed by Christian Carrion. This is a French movie. Joyeux Noel is French for Merry Christmas. For for those of you who don't speak French, this movie is actually multilingual. There's
a lot of languages.
Yeah. So there are 3 main groups of cast members in this movie. This is a World War I movie. The groups are French soldiers, German soldiers, and Scottish soldiers. So this movie's going back and forth between French, German, and English.
And based on a true story, right?
Yeah, based on a true story. So yeah, this is the true story of soldiers in the first year of World War I fighting on the trenches who decide to have a ceasefire on Christmas Eve. They just basically get together, put their guns down and decide to drink together and sing songs and,
And this is like gritty, nasty trench warfare,
exactly.
World War I trench warfare.
Yeah, exactly. So when I heard the premise of this movie, I was not enthused. It just kind of sounds like
you and I thought the same thing.
Okay,
is it was going to be syrupy?
Yeah, I thought this movie was going to be drenched in sap,
and it was not
at all. Yeah, so
it was a very realistic look at this.
Yeah, so the movie starts with a bunch of school children standing in front of the classroom talking about the wars, I guess, where they're talking about exterminating the enemies from their other countries.
In all the different languages.
Yeah, in English, French, and German, And then we start off with a pretty hard-hitting and brutal battle in this trench warfare kind of thing, where, at one point, a bunch of the French soldiers are just gunned down with a machine gun inside a trench. I mean, it's pretty...
Merry Christmas!
Yeah. And, it's a pretty intensely shot battle scene.
It is.
So there's a few shots of, slow-mo people dying, and then there's these 2 Scottish brothers, and one of them dies, and the other one is, crying over the brother's body, and, he kisses him on the mouth, and it's just, it made me continue to be worried about this movie, right? Where I feel like this movie is going to be too much.
Right.
Because it's way too easy to take this premise of this movie and make it hokey and sappy and do too much with it. And man, this movie does not do that at all.
No, it's an uneasy piece the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So after the big battle, they're talking about how Christmas Eve is coming up, and everybody, all the higher ups on both sides are like, you never can tell what those people on the other side are going to do. Even on Christmas Eve, they may be coming to attack us. Everybody's on edge,
right?
Even though it's Christmas, they're like, what's going to happen? But then, so one of the German soldiers is a famous tenor. He's an opera singer. And one of the German commanders, is it the Crown Prince? I think that's what they said he was.
Yeah.
He wants to hear this guy sing on Christmas Eve. So they take him away from the front lines so he can go to this party and sing some songs for all of these rich people.
Yeah.
But then he comes back to the front with his opera singer girlfriend in tow.
Because he wants to sing with the men.
And so they're going to come and they're going to sing. And while they're standing there preparing to sing, they hear the Scottish guys having a sing-along. There's a bagpiper there, and the Scottish guys are singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful," I think at first.
Something like that, yeah.
And then, so the German guy, the opera singer, is like, well, 2 can play at this game, and he just starts singing Silent Night, and that's the point where the whole war kind of stops. right?
Yeah.
Where he comes out, the German guy comes out of his trench and he's just standing there.
And before we've seen, if you come out of the trench,
Right.
you get shot.
Instantly shot.
Like, yeah.
Instantly shot. At one point, somebody points a gun at him. One of the soldiers on the other side, I think it's a French soldier, points a gun at the singer as he steps out, and it looks like he's about to shoot him, and the person standing next to him like puts his hand on the rifle and pushes it down.
Yeah.
He's like, no, let's just let this guy sing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts to sing, and then the bagpiper joins in, and then soon enough, everybody's coming out of the trenches, and they're all like, it's all very tentative. But they're like, are we doing this thing? What's going on here? At first, it's just the Scottish guys and the German guys, and then the French guys are like, oh, they're having a summit and they didn't invite us. And then the French, so the three commanding officers from all three factions come out and they're discussing this thing. I'm like, are we going to do this thing? Are we going to do this thing? And they do it. And like, I was expecting like swelling orchestral music to be playing this whole time. And, you know, we're learning lessons about about the greater humanity of everybody.
That's exactly what I expected
and
too.
It's just not there. It's just like a really simple human story, you know? Like these guys are...
It was brilliantly directed.
Yeah, I agree. These guys, they all start like exchanging photos of their wives.
There's all these mini storylines going on. And it's not all great too, because the guy whose brother got shot, he's still like, fuck these guys.
He's super pissed off. Yeah, so a German guy has got a bottle of champagne, and he comes over to the Scottish guy who's like mourning over the body of his brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, let's have a drink, you know? And the Scottish guy just like gives him a death stare.
Yeah, like I thought it was all going to end right there.
Yeah, I kept expecting that to happen. I'm like, how is this going to blow up? It feels like it's going to blow up at any minute.
Yeah.
Which never happens. But yeah, the Scottish guy like just gives this German dude a death stare, and the guy just backs away slowly. He's like, okay, I'll just take my bottle of champagne and go somewhere else. Sorry, dude. You know? And then the next day is Christmas morning, and it's like, hey, the German guys come over. The German commander comes over to the French side and says, our artillery is going to start bombing you in your trench now. So why don't you come over to our trench and not get shelled to death?
Saves their lives.
And saves their lives. So what eventually happens is all of the people on every side start writing letters home about this miraculous thing that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's war, so all of the letters to home are being read by commanders in like Central Command.
Yeah.
And so it's like, these guys did what? Right? And so basically everybody involved in the ceasefire is going to be punished, right? Like all of the German soldiers are sent to Russia, and there's a Scottish priest who's there, and he's being sent away from the front lines because apparently he can't be trusted.
And he gives up his faith and hangs up the cross.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one thing I didn't expect, is that they all got in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
Like the end wasn't this happy, peaceful ending. All the sides hated each other so much that they were like, you can't do this. We're punishing you for this.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You can't be over there fraternizing with the enemy.
Yeah, so the Scottish priest is confronted by like, I don't know, a cardinal or something, one of the higher-ups in his church, and basically is told, how dare you try to convince these men that the Germans are the same as us, that we're all the same people, that we're all children of God.
Which is what they all realized. Right. In this whole experiment.
Yeah, exactly. So the point of the movie seems to be that it's like the real enemy is not the other side. The real enemy is the generals, right? Because all of the higher ups are the ones who come down on everybody for having this truce, and they all. And
also, I think the whole point of the movie is the real enemy is the other.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily the generals, but
the
like
generals are the ones who are like pushing this narrative, right?
But so was the priest.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. But he's a higher up, right? Because it's not the priest on the ground. It's the priest up in the cathedral or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the guys who are being sung to at the party by the German opera singer, not the guys who are being sung to in the trenches by the German opera singer, right? Yeah. So what we learn is no matter which side they're on, if you're in the trenches, you're just there to die, right? And you don't get to decide what you want to do. And all you have to do is carry out the will of these other people. And the will of these other people is that I am French, so I hate Germany, or I am Germany, so I hate France.
Right.
And that's the thing we have to learn. And there's even a sermon performed by the cardinal or whoever, where he's like, the Germans are not children of God. If you think that they are, you're wrong. You are mistaken.
And it will not be solved until they're all dead.
And we have to wipe out all of the Germans. This is a fucking man of God who's saying this. This is a theoretically holy person who's saying these things.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. So this is another entry into our religious problems episode. But you're right on. You know, the thing this movie does best is it nails the tone. It doesn't go too far. A lot of the movie is,
you could make a movie that people would love.
Oh yeah,
that was just a big syrupy.
Did you watch? There was an animated short. I think it actually won the Oscar for animated short last year. And it was produced by Yoko Ono or Sean Ono Lennon, and it's based on the Yoko Ono John Lennon Christmas song, War Is Over.
I don't think I saw that.
It's fucking terrible, just awful. And it's exactly the same kind of thing that we're talking about, where it's about two sides. I think it's actually World War I. It's about two sides.
You think it might be a version of this?
I think it might actually. I don't think it's during a ceasefire. But something happens where both sides come out of the trenches and they realize that we're all the same after all.
It sounds like it.
But it's not. I don't think it's an official ceasefire. I think it's just I don't think it might actually be. I actually can't remember the movie well enough. But it's the syrupy garbage version of this movie. It shows you exactly the wrong way to do this movie, and this movie does exactly the opposite of that. It does it the right way.
Yeah.
It's just simple. It's told very scaled down and simplistically, and it's exactly what this story needs, you know?
Yeah, it surprised me too, the same way it surprised you.
Yeah.
I was expecting, like you said, swelling music.
Yeah. And for the most part, there's not a lot of score in this movie. Most of the music is just what's happening, being sung by the people in the movie. So a lot of the movie is told in silence or with gunfire or whatever, and it's just
it still had its moments though, but it balanced them out well enough.
Yeah, it's not an unemotional movie either.
No, there's a lot of emotional parts.
Yeah, like when the French commander finds out that he has a son, because he hadn't been able to hear from his wife because the lines of communication had been cut.
Yeah.
So then he finds out that he has a son, and then he winds up telling his father, who is one of his superiors, that he has a grandson, and that's like a really emotional scene, but handled really well. It's not over the top. It's done in kind of a stripped down way.
Right. I thought
it's very emotional.
The same thing when the opera singer came out of the trenches and sang. I thought that was a really awesome scene.
Yeah.
But it was also tense and scary. You know, you're like, they're going to shoot this guy.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I thought was very strange, a problem I had with the movie. So the female opera singer, she's played by Diane Kruger, she was in Inglourious Bastards and National Treasure. She's a person, right?
Yeah.
She is very obviously not a singer. And all of the scenes where she is singing are lip synced very badly, I thought.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Really? I couldn't stop watching it, where it's just like, they didn't even sync her lips correctly a lot of the time. And it was so obvious that she wasn't the one who was singing. And it's like, I mean, she's a beautiful woman who's a good actress, but there aren't any beautiful German women who are good actresses who can also sing, that you couldn't get somebody to actually play this part who could do the singing part. It's very strange to me. I don't really understand what that was about. That kind of bugged me, kind of took me out of it. I don't know. I guess it's because I've been burned by stories like this so many times. I kept wanting to not like it. Like, I kept writing stuff down when because I always take notes to talk about stuff on the show. Yeah. And I kept writing stuff down and be like, what's this fucking movie doing? But then like immediately after the thing that happens that I was mad about, it winds up explaining itself. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that's reasonable. That's totally reasonable. One of the things that happens the day after, so Christmas morning, both sides decide that they're going to be allowed to bury their dead. Yeah. So they start burying the dead. And so the priest guy is like, he says, oh, that makes sense. Burying the dead on the day Christ was born. That makes sense. And I was like, does that make sense? What are you fucking talking about? That's ridiculous. But then it's like, then they're doing it and they're having this like moment of real, like, I don't know, mourning, I guess, for all of these lost guys. I'm like, fuck, this really does make sense. Like, this scene really works. And it's the burial scene is really moving and effective. Like, just did a great job, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, at every turn in this movie, like it didn't go to the place I expected it.
Yeah.
And that's usually what makes a good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really liked how everything up until the point of the ceasefire was showing just how bad shit is in the trenches.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody has head lice and everything is gross. Like at one point, they're escorting some general out of a trench and somebody fires off a gun to make him trip so he falls into a bunch of shit. It's like there's just shit on the ground everywhere. It's just like everything is terrible. Like this is a fucking horrible place that these people are in.
Yeah.
Which makes the moment of the ceasefire so much more powerful, right? Where it's just like we're taking a break from this fucking horrible nightmare that we're all in together.
Just all collectively decide to do it.
Yep.
And you got to think like how much of a miracle that was, because it's a war, you know, and when there's a war, you hate the other side.
Yep, for sure.
So how miserable are those conditions to where you're like, I hate these people. My job is to murder them.
Yep.
But it's really fucking shitty. It'd be nice to have a cocktail and just not worry about that for a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So Ken, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So is Joyeux Noel, is that how you say it?
Joyeux
Noel. Is that a pass, pirate, or pay for you?
This is definitely a pay for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Pay all the way.
Very nice. Very nice.
Also, though, not a movie I'd watch every Christmas.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
I like syrupy movies at Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I might at some point want to show this to somebody else and watch it again at Christmas time with somebody else.
Yeah.
But this isn't a movie where I'm going to be at home and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to pop on Joyeux Noel.
If you haven't seen it, it is a good Christmas
Absolutely.
movie.
Absolutely. It's like celebrating one aspect of what makes Christmas great, right?
Yeah.
Like this shared humanity, the brotherhood of man, or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, this is one of the great things about Christmas. And this movie does that very well. But yeah, you're right. It is not exactly a fun romp that I would want to experience every year. This is not Elf that is balm for my soul.
No.
Okay, our second movie today will be 2010's Rare Exports. This is a Finnish movie directed by Jalmari Helander. This is not a movie I had ever heard of. I had never heard of Joyeux Noel or this movie before you decided that we were going to be doing it.
I saw Rare Exports when it came out.
Yeah. And this is an excellent premise for a movie, I think, where this corporation is digging in Finland. They're mining for something, and they realize they've come across the tomb of Santa Claus while they're mining, and they're going to excavate this mine, and I don't know if it's like they think it's like the Ark of the Covenant, where they're going to have this army and they're going to march with Santa Claus out in front of them and they're going to take over the world.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it ever given an explanation of why they want to?
I don't think so. I think it's like once we control, he who controls the Santa controls the universe.
So isn't Finland where the myth of Santa started?
I actually don't know. I'm not sure.
Like the myth of the modern Santa, not like the Saint Nicholas, but like
I know it's somewhere up in that area of the world, but I can't say for sure that it's Finland. But yeah, the opening credits of this movie are shown as this kid is going through these old books about Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And the book is filled with all of these pictures of exactly the kind of Santa Claus we're going to be dealing with in this movie.
Yes.
Where it's just like he's like robbing graves or he's boiling children.
He's a monster.
He's a monster. It's a Santa Claus monster.
Yeah.
So that's just puts us right in the place where we see what kind of thing we're going to be getting into.
Yeah.
But before that, there's two children and they're watching these miners as they're discovering the grave of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It's very funny, I think, where it's like, you better watch out, you better not cry, where this guy is like, no swearing, everybody be on your best behavior because they're about to dig up Santa Claus.
No smoking, no drinking.
Exactly. No
lots
cursing,
of smiling.
Everybody smile. Yeah. And like he's very serious about the whole thing. And these guys are like flicking away their cigarettes. I was like, no, we can't have any of that. Santa Claus is coming. We all have to be on our best behavior. So yeah, I thought that was really funny. But yeah, so the story is told from the point of view of this kid and his dad, and they have a dead mother. Everyone in this community, I think they're all reindeer farmers, it seems like.
Yeah, something like that.
Like they sell reindeer meat.
He's a butcher.
Yeah, he's definitely seen dismantling animals throughout the movie. But I think they farm and sell the meat of reindeer. I think that's how they do it. So the action of the movie is commenced after these corporation guys start digging up the grave of Santa. All of the reindeer are slaughtered. They're all just murdered. Yeah. And it's just like, what kind of wolves could have done this thing? But it's just like, well, I don't know. We're not going there. We don't think this is wolves. This is a thing. And the kid starts realizing that it's Santa Claus, but he doesn't want to tell anybody because he shouldn't have been there watching the corporation guys in the first place.
Right.
And when to get there, they cut a hole in the fence, and that's how the murderer of the reindeer got out. So he doesn't want to admit this to his dad.
Right.
So the kid knows what's going on the whole time, but he can't really tell anybody. And that's where like a lot of the tension in the beginning parts of the movie come out. But then we find what initially we think is Santa Claus, but it's not. It's just an elf. And there are lots of elves in this movie. And in this movie, all of the elves are skinny, old, naked dudes.
Yeah.
Right?
Kind of scary looking.
Yeah, they're creepy. They're old, skinny dudes with white beards. So I guess it makes sense.
And floppy dicks.
Yep, dicks everywhere. So at one point, one of them is captured, and he bites one of the guy's ears off. All of the violence in this movie takes place off screen. I think this movie was made for a very, very small budget.
Yeah, they do a lot with a little.
It feels very Jaws-like to me.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, we don't have the technology, but we're going to...
Oh, it's not. They had the technology.
But we don't have the money.
They don't have the money.
Right, we don't have the money. So we're going to create all of this tension by not showing you anything. So it's just like, at one point, the guy's got an ear, and then next time you see him, he's got a bloody stump where his ear used to be. Mm-hmm. And it's just, there's so many things in this movie happen in that way, where all of the violence and scary stuff that happen off screen.
Yeah.
And it's just really effective. Like,
yeah, and I think when they captured what they think is Santa Claus, that whole scene, all those scenes there in that butcher shop, were so like gross and dismal and cool.
Yep.
You know, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's so much better to do it that way. Like last week we talked about Red One, and we have all these like shitty CGI fight scenes.
Yeah.
I would so much rather just don't show it. Just cut away from it and do it that way, rather than show me something that looks like shit, right?
Yeah.
And so this movie, I think, very clearly made that point, because there is some amount of CGI in this movie, and it is not good. Like,
are you talking about the helicopter scene?
Yeah. So
I think they dumped all of their money into the helicopter scene, and it wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how they could have spent money. It looks like it was made on like a MacBook, you know, like that's the kind of CGI.
How long ago was this? 2016?
It's 2010.
2010. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it's a while ago for sure. Listen, I don't really hold the movie's bad CGI against it. I don't think
I didn't either.
Yeah, I it's totally all right. But yeah, so eventually we see what the real Santa is. We don't actually get to see him ever, but we see him inside of a giant ice block, and they haven't thawed him yet, but Santa looks enormous.
He's like 2 stories high.
He's a gigantic, terrifying
big giant
monster.
Horns.
Yeah. At one point, a line that I thought was really funny, one of the kids says, the Coca-Cola Santa is a joke. Because this is the real Santa. This is the guy we're dealing with here. Yeah, and like all the weird stuff that's happening, like weird horror movie things are happening where it's like everybody in town's radiators have been stolen, and like one guy has a bunch of potatoes, and like they stole all my potato sacks, and like, oh, they took your potatoes? No, they didn't take the potatoes. They just took the sacks.
Took the sacks.
Right. And eventually we realize when we get to see where Santa is, they've stolen all these radiators because they're trying to thaw the giant ice block Santa out.
Yeah.
And they've got sacks because, well, you know, Santa, he needs to have a sack. He's got to carry the toys.
But it wasn't the toys. Remember, they were sacking up the bad kids.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. They're kidnapping all the kids in town.
So I think like the Santa myth in this is a lot more like Krampus.
Yeah, it does seem very Krampusy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's presented as a guy with horns. Seems very like devil like in the old pictures.
Yeah,
that
it was
they're
kind of a
showing.
mix of like Santa and Krampus.
Yeah. So the way the movie plays out is these farmers have all lost their livelihoods because the reindeer have all been killed by these naked old man elves.
Yeah.
So then when they have Santa, they're like, well, we got Santa. Let's sell him back to this corporation that want him so badly. We're gonna sell him to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
They're trying to do it, but then the elves are not having it, and they wind up decapitating the corporation guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how are we going to get rid of all these elves? And eventually all the problems are solved in the same way where, like you said, there's a helicopter. They take all of the kids who have been kidnapped and put them in this giant net and drag them from the bottom of a helicopter.
Yeah.
So they're flying this helicopter to this giant like reindeer pen, which is like the Velociraptor holding area in Jurassic Park. And the helicopter is flying there, and all of the old man elves are magically drawn to try to follow these kids.
Yeah, because they're the naughty kids, right?
Right, exactly.
They're the naughty kids.
And that's what the elves are there. They're there to put these naughty kids in line. So
right, to feed them to Santa.
Wherever the naughty kids go, that's where the elves are going to be going.
Yeah.
So they're all following them. And then the one kid, the main kid, decides he's going to sacrifice himself for the good of everybody.
Yeah.
Because the only way they can drop the net full of kids into the pen is if he goes down with them and then pushes the button to pen the elves into it.
Yeah.
So it's like Armageddon at the end, right? Where it's like, I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice myself. And it proves that he's not naughty after all. He's the one nice kid in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie is ridiculous. It's totally insane.
Yeah, it is, but it's kind of insane that I like.
It's fun. It's a fun movie. The ending of this movie could not be more preposterous, I think. Like
where they package up.
Yeah, so they decide they're going to train all of these elves to stop being murderous and start being like jolly Santa type people. And then they're going to send them for money to all of these countries around the world that don't have Santa Claus. Like at one point, they slap a shipping label on this country on this box to Namibia, and they're shipping this old man elf to Namibia so he can be the Santa Claus there because they've reformed him.
Yeah,
it's like what the fuck?
Yeah, I really like this movie.
Yeah,
I think it's really really fun. I think it gives no fucks. I think that we said before, it does a whole lot with very little.
Yeah,
I think it creates a fun dark mood.
Yeah.
I love the mythology of it. Like I love it.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
I like it. I don't love it. I think it's pretty good. It's definitely worth watching. I had a good time through most of it. I don't know. I don't know. Not all of it worked for me, but on the whole, the story was kind of fun, and you're right. It's a good kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so is that it?
Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
For Rare Exports?
About Rare Exports,
So,
yeah.
Ken, what is it for you in Rare Exports? Is it pass, pirate, or pay?
I got Rare Exports as a pirate.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got it as a pay.
Nice. Yeah,
I don't pay. It's way too fun.
I don't think you need to spend money on this one, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I think it has the same vibe as Gremlins, you know?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess it does kind of have the same kind of feel.
I don't think it gets very scary. It kind of does.
There's a little bit. There's a little bit of tension building kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's as much fun as Gremlins or as effectively scary. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Pirate. Still worth watching. Our final movie today is 2024's Dear Santa, which is directed by Bobby Farrelly of the Farrelly Brothers. He is the brother who was left behind when Peter decided to go off and make Green Book and win an Oscar for some reason.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's a thing that happened. One of the Farrelly brothers has a Best Picture winner under his belt.
I didn't hate Green Book, but I hate the Farrelly brothers.
Yeah, I know you do.
I hate the Farrelly. They're the masters of punching down.
I don't love the Farrelly brothers. I like a couple of their movies.
I don't know if there's one that I like.
I enjoy There's Something About Mary. I think it's really funny.
I walked out of Something About Mary.
Yeah. But this movie, the idea behind this movie seems to be like he was looking at a word one day and he's like, did you ever notice that the words Santa and Satan have the exact same letters in them? That could be a 2-hour movie, right? That's basically what we're doing here.
Hey, you know who sucks? Dyslexic children.
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be the target of this one.
Talk about punching down. This movie is right there. Yeah. It's like, so the main character is this kid and he's got dyslexia. And so he writes this letter to Santa Claus, except it's addressed to Satan. Yep. And it's at the North Lope, Lope. That's hilarious. And it goes to Satan, who is played by Jack Black.
Yeah.
And the Satan initially tries to tell the kid that he's Santa and he's going to grant the kid 3 wishes, but eventually it's revealed that he is in fact the devil, maybe. And then at the end of the 3 wishes, the devil owns his soul. So that's where the movie goes.
Yeah.
So this movie, this is a kid's movie. I don't know if Bobby Farrelly has any kids. He probably does. I don't know. But it seems like he's never had a conversation with a child in his life. The kids in this movie talk like adults, right? They talk like Seinfeld characters, basically. Like there's these 2 dorky kids who are the main characters of the movie.
That's another thing. Not just dyslexic kids we have to make fun of, but also black kids with fucked
up teeth. Yeah. So these 2 kids, they're dorks. Nobody likes them. And one of them has a crush on this cute girl in their class. And they're having all these conversations. And it's just like, no kid talks like this. So it's just like at one point, the kid is getting away from an awkward situation. There's a running joke through the movie somehow where he goes, Toodles. And he's like, just so you know, I've never said the word Toodles before. It's like, this is not the way kids talk. Kids don't behave in this way. It's just like, it's very weird. And kid actors are bad, right? That's a rule. That's generally a rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing to be bad as a kid actor.
The kid actors in this movie, the way kid actors are bad is that they're trying to overdo everything, right? They're playing everything super big because, I'm acting. This is how I do it. And these kids they're some of the worst kid actors I think I've ever seen in a movie. But it's not like they're the only ones because the adults in this movie are way over the top acting too. Everybody in this movie is doing way too big.
Wait, even Jack Black?
Well, Jack Black is just doing his Jack Black shit, right?
Yeah, which I think I'm sick of now.
I am too. I'm definitely sick
of it. And I wasn't.
I used to really like Jack Black.
Yeah.
I like Tenacious D. I like School of Rock. Like even Jack Black with kids. School of Rock I think is a really good movie.
Yeah, I think that the act is tired. Yeah. I think the same thing happened to me with Robin Williams, but Robin Williams kind of grew out of it.
Yeah.
And grew into more mature, better stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems like Jack Black is he's staying in that groove.
Still doing the same thing. He's talking about the situation. He's still doing shit like that. Where it's just like, this is the same jokes you've been making for 30 years, bro. Like, why don't we try to move on?
And he's capable. I've seen him in other things. Did you see Bernie?
No, I didn't see Bernie.
Bernie was really good. There was one where he played like the Polka King con man.
Yeah, I've heard that movie's really good.
That one was really good. Bernie was the one where he played like the Southern gay dude who like murdered somebody.
Okay.
Like he's done substantial roles, not too far from the shtick, but far enough to where you can go, oh, he can probably branch out a bit.
Yeah. This movie, he is not branching out. He is like in full on, I am Jack Black mode.
Yeah.
So last week we talked about Red One, another allegedly kids movie.
Yeah.
And this movie, I find it to be bad in a much more forgivable way than Red One.
How so?
I think if kids watch this movie, they're not going to come away with bad morality, at least.
Which is weird because it's the devil.
It's the devil. But like, I feel like this movie's heart is at least in the right place, even if its brain is non-existent.
But it's a Farrelly Brothers movie, so they are punching down, but not as much
but like,
as they do in others.
The kid who's the main character is, for the most part, a good kid. Like, he does the right thing. And then there's a brief period where he thinks the devil owns his soul, where he's like, well, I don't have to be a good kid anymore. And he becomes a jerk for a little while. But then it's quickly discovered that, like, that's not making him happy, and that's not who he is, and things are going to be better off if he stops acting that way.
Yeah.
So I at least feel like
there were some sweet moments.
It's sweet. It's a stupid movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's very dumb, but it's not offensive to me. You know? Like Red One is offensive. It's offensive in how bad it is, and it's offensive in the things that it seems to believe in.
Yeah.
This movie is just a regular bad movie.
And I do think there was some fun rapport with Jack Black as the devil and the kid.
Yeah.
I thought there was some fun interactions between them.
Yeah.
I out of all the Farrelly Brothers things, and I've watched a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
I even watched the series that they did about where they were making fun of alcoholics.
I don't even remember that.
It's a guy's name. It's Ron Livingston plays him.
Okay. I don't remember this at all.
Will Sasso was in it.
Huh.
It was about recovering alcoholics.
Okay.
And I just forget the name. He's like a dick. He's like, Ron Livingston's like a giant dick.
Yeah.
I forget it. But I watched that. I watched the whole goddamn thing. And I hated everything.
Yeah.
I think I've hated this the least.
Interesting.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I hated it the least.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I found the ending of Rare Exports to be the most preposterous thing. That was before I had seen this movie. The end. Spoiler alert. The ending of this movie is so far off the rails. I can't believe that they actually did it this way. So after the kid has sold his soul to the Jack Black devil, we go down to hell. And we learn that Jack Black is not actually the devil.
So pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
He refrains from making 3 wishes because the third wish will seal the deal.
Exactly. So he puts it off as long as he can.
But then his parents are starting to break up. So he wishes for his parents.
So this movie has a lot of information that it doles out very sparingly. And his parents are fighting the whole movie and they're miserable. And we learn that they've moved to this new town for reasons because there was some kind of tragedy, but we don't know what it is. So eventually it's revealed that the kid's little brother has been killed in an accident.
Yeah.
And that's why his parents are going through some shit. Right?
Yeah.
They hate each other because they both blame each other for the kid getting murdered or getting killed in this accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the kid uses his final wish to get his parents to stop fighting. Then we go to hell and we meet the actual devil, who is played by Ben Stiller.
And that whole interaction is so stupid.
Talk about tired shtick. Ben Stiller is so bad doing just fucking terrible shit as this devil.
It felt like AI wrote that.
It's
like it was just like bad comedy.
Awful. And we learn that there's some kind of It's a Wonderful Life vibe going on where Jack Black is trying to earn his devil horns by getting control.
He's just some lower level demon.
Yeah. But so it's like Clarence not having his wings. If Jack Black can trick this kid out of his soul, then he can get his horns.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck is going on? But the devil is so mad that the kid used his last wish to do something noble to get his parents back together.
Yeah, that it doesn't count.
We can't take this kid's soul. You screwed up, Jack Black. And he gets banished from hell. We don't really know what that means, where he's going to go at this point, but this is what's going on. He's banished from hell forever because he fucked up getting this kid's soul.
Yeah.
So I think what the movie is trying to be saying is that Jack Black is going to turn into Santa Claus because the dad keeps hinting that when he was a kid, he always asked Santa for a pony and he never got it. But then Christmas morning comes and the dad gets his pony.
Yeah.
But so Jack Black, after getting kicked out of hell, he meets up with the kid again and he's like, he realizes, I really like this kid. And like they become kind of buddies. And he's like, well, we didn't use your third wish on your parents getting back together. They did that on their own. So you still have a third wish. And somehow they decide that the way to end this movie is that he's going to use his third wish to bring the dead brother back to life.
Well, he says, I'm just going to use the wish you put in your letter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which, so the kid had apparently asked Santa to bring his dead brother back to life.
Yeah.
And that's how they decide to end this movie, with Jack Black becoming this wish granter good guy who brings the dead brother back to life. And that's it. We're just like, kids back to life, parents are happy, everybody, Jack Black is Santa Claus, everybody wins.
A very syrupy ending.
Totally, I was in shock. I'm like, they're not really doing this. How can this possibly be the way that they've chosen to end this movie? And the timelines were
all fucked up, all mixed up too, because the dead brother, it seems like he had never died.
Right? Yeah.
So then he gets on the phone with his friend, and he's like, because he confided in his friend
that his brother died.
Yep. So he's in a friend. And he goes, "Hey, listen, I got your girlfriend to talk to you again." He goes, "How'd you do that?" He goes, "Oh, I played on her sympathy about your dead brother."
Yeah.
So in the friends world, there is a dead brother.
Yep.
And now he's in trouble. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah, and that's like the 80s sitcom end of the movie. It's like, nope, how am I gonna get out of this one?
Dead brother.
But yeah, you're right, because like they moved to the town that they're living in the movie because the brother had died, right?
Right.
And then after the brother comes back to life, the father is on the phone with somebody from their old town, and they're like, "Hey, why did we ever move from that town anyway?" I don't know.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, that beats me.
So the timelines are all fucked up.
Right,
They're all screwy.
Yeah. So the parents, they, as far as they're concerned, and the brother, reincarnated brother, obviously, as far as they're concerned, the kid never died. But as far as the best friend is concerned, he had died. So how are we going to explain? I guess the best friend knows that the devil's been helping the kid after all.
So I guess maybe that.
He's
yeah.
like, well, the devil did it.
But if he never died, if like, is the devil just tricking this family into thinking the brother
is, are the kid and his friend the only ones who know that the brother was dead and reincarnated? Who knows? Who can say?
It's fucking terrible.
It's
plot
so
hole.
stupid. It's such a stupid, ridiculous ending. Like I don't know. Like, were they on a deadline? Like, we got to end this movie. We got to start shooting in 2 hours. We need an ending right now. It was like, well, this is the best we could come up with. Like,
all right, shoot it.
Just do it. I don't care. Like, it's so stupid. I can't believe it. Cannot believe it. So preposterous the way this movie ends. Yeah. There's Post Malone is in this movie.
Post Malone is in it quite a bit
for an extended period of time.
Yeah, he's like the second act.
Yeah, like apparently the girl that the kid has a crush on, it loves Post Malone. So the devil, Jack Black Devil, gets them tickets to see Post Malone, and then hypnotizes Post Malone into thinking that somehow this kid is the inspiration for for all of his music.
Yeah, like
how long has Post Malone been popular for? This kid is 10 years old. It's like Post Malone gets up on stage. He's like, I got to bring up on stage the person who's responsible for my inspiration for all of my music. This 10-year-old boy. And everybody's like, oh, 10-year-old, this kid rules. He's the best. Like, what the fuck? And they're dancing up on stage and
just real awkwardly dancing. It's really silly.
Really, like, totally ridiculous. Yeah.
There's also it can't be a Farrelly Brothers movie unless somebody shits their pants.
Oh my god! So there's an asshole teacher.
Yeah,
and his shtick is that he shits on everything. He's talking about they're talking about A Christmas Carol at one point. I'm like, well, this is the worst. This is one of the worst books ever written. And then he's like, this book sucks, and that's his whole deal. So then, let's give this guy his comeuppance. He's talking to the kid, and the Jack Black Devil is standing right there, and the Jack Black decides he's gonna give this guy diarrhea. So the guy just goes through the various stages of looking like he's going to shit himself, and then it's
that's Farrelly Brothers movie that just
can't do
awful fucking literally shit humor.
Yeah, it's that is a very long scene, and is You're right. I was thinking Farrelly's going to Farrelly on this one. This is just the way that they're going to do it. They have to do it.
Fucking awful.
Yeah.
Everything they do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this movie.
Any redeeming qualities?
Like I said, I think this movie's heart is in the right place. That is what I find redeeming about it.
So like the tone of the movie.
Yeah. I think it's a badly acted, written, and directed movie, but at least it's not morally reprehensible.
Yeah,
that's my takeaway.
That is something redeemable.
Yeah, I think if I had not seen this movie shortly after having seen Red One, I might have hated it more. But having seen Red One and then watching this movie within a week, my thought was, it's not that bad. It could have been a lot worse. That's where I was at.
I was kind of there too.
Yeah,
I was kind of there too. Like it had all the hallmarks of shitty Farrelly Brothers, but they just weren't as intense.
Yeah.
So that's how I was for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically all I got to say about Dear Santa.
All right, so let's make it official.
Yeah.
Ken is Dear Santa a pass, pirate, or pay?
Dear Santa is a pass from me, to be sure.
It's a pass for me, too.
Yeah.
We are both also like old childless men.
That's true, to be sure.
This might be like a good thing for families to watch.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I feel like if I were 8 years old and watching this movie
with your mom and dad,
I might have liked
on
it.
Netflix.
Yeah, I might have been like, yeah, this movie's pretty funny, and I'm sure my parents would have been like, ugh, this is whatever, but at least it's fine.
My nieces and nephews are at age right now where farts are super funny.
Yeah, right. So 20.
I'm at an age right now where farts are super funny.
Oh man.
But they are at the age where it's like appropriate to be funny.
Yeah. So this week I ran the gamut. We got to pass, a pirate, and a pay out of me this week. I think it's the first time we've done that.
Yes. So we are going to take next week off.
Yeah.
Next week is Christmas week.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we're going to do for the shows after that. We're probably going to do some kind of wrap up for the year, though.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but it's tentative. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we might want to wait on that because there's still a lot of like Oscar-y kind of stuff. Yeah, that doesn't it gets released on Christmas Day in LA, but it doesn't come out in the rest of the country until mid-January.
Yeah.
So we may want to hold off on that stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay, that's fine. And there's a lot of stuff. There's the Dylan movies coming out on Christmas Day.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have no shortage of things to talk about.
Awesome. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening, and we hope to have a wonderful new year ahead of us.
That's right. Peace and love. Thanks for tuning in to Pass Pirate Pay. This episode was produced by the one and only Andy Morris. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. We'd hate for you to miss out on all the fun. Curious about where to stream the movies we talked about? Head on over to passpiratepay.com. We've got everything listed with handy links on where to watch. You can also join the conversation on our Facebook page or stalk our cinematic musings on Letterboxd. Links are on the site. Got a movie or a TV show you think we should review? Fill out the contact form, or this is cool, you can even text us right through the episode player on our website's front page. Thanks again for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep watching, keep rating, and keep it past Pirate Pay.